What does God's plan for a lasting marriage look like? Hello, beautiful women of God. Welcome back to the Balanced Woman, where we merge faith and life wisdom. I'm Dr. Sylvia Jones, the Queen of Vision, and today we're addressing a topic close to many hearts: choosing a spouse wisely. What does God's plan for a lasting marriage look like? Choosing a life partner is one of the most significant decisions we make in our lives. Have you ever wondered what principles can guide you to make a choice that aligns with God's wisdom? Today, let's explore three biblical insights to help you discern God's plan for a marriage that will last. First, seek a partner who shares your faith. Do not be yoked together with unbelievers. This isn't just about belief, it's about sharing a common foundation for decision making, ethics, and life values. Shared faith provides a strong base, offering mutual understanding and support for navigating life challenges together. Let me tell you a story about how I met my spouse, and we've now been married over 20 years. Right before I met him, I had actually been praying for a husband. So I was not in a position of just happened to find him. I had been in some prior relationships and I had decided, God, I'm ready to be married. I'm tired of the dating life. I had went to God and I had cried out to him about this situation. And somewhere in church, we were talking about covenant relationships. I believe they were talking about David and Jonathan's covenant relationship. Anyway, it was a whole sermon on covenants and how important they are and how powerful they are in the kingdom of God. And before I met my spouse, I had actually went into covenant with God. I had surrendered to him because what I was doing wasn't working. In that covenant, he told me to do things his way, to follow his plan, to go by what the word said about things you were supposed to do and not do before and after marriage. I went to a covenant with him that I was going to save myself. I was going to do things God's way as far as marriage. And in that covenant, he told me that if I did that, then I would have everything I ever dreamed of. I, at the time, was not necessarily 100% sure that what God had said in his word, if it still applied to today. That was some old timey stuff. Now, this is a new thing. That was the Old Testament. That's not today. But he reassured me. He said, has what you've been doing been working? And I said, no, it has not been working. I had to admit, I had to tell the Lord the truth. It has not been working. And so he said, try it my way. And I said, okay, God, let's see what you can do. I remember not shortly after, God was really, he was on it. He was on it. He knew I was serious. And so shortly after I met my spouse, it was just a little mixer thing. It was my first day of optometry school, really. And we were out in the graduate program and I was in optometry school. Long story short, we went out on our first little date and I said, I'm not going to tell him this right away. But somehow the conversation went where it went. But I was like, we're not, this is what I went into covenant with God and I'm telling him this story. And I really think he's not going to call me again because it's just a little odd to tell somebody on your very first date. However, he kept calling and he kept coming around and we honored that covenant. By the time I met him to 6 months later, we were engaged. Did you see how quick God was working? We were engaged, and then a year from then, we were married. We honored that covenant. And let me tell you this, God has honored the covenant as well. This marriage has been, oh my goodness, been beyond my wildest dreams because I found somebody who had a similar faith to mine, and our faiths aligned. His faith and my faith aligned with the will of God. And when you go into a covenant relationship, because that's what I was going into another covenant relationship with my husband, is that because I had honored the covenant with God, he honored the covenant of this marriage. So seek a partner that shares your faith. If you have faith and that partner is not honoring God, it's a good chance that they're not going to honor it. If they're not honoring it before the marriage, it's a good chance they're not going to honor it after the marriage. So consider how a shared spiritual path can enrich your relationship, providing you with a common language of prayer, worship, spiritual growth. This unity in faith fosters a deep connection and commitment, which is crucial to overcoming life's ups and downs because it will be challenges. And it's a good way of seeing how are you going to navigate that when they come. Secondly, look for character, not just chemistry. Let me repeat that. Look for character, not just chemistry. Proverbs 31:30 warns charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. The same goes for choosing a husband. Traits like integrity, kindness, responsibility, and a respectful nature are fundamental. Going back, my mom and dad did not have a good relationship. I saw a lot of things that I didn't desire for my husband to have, nor did I desire for my future relationship with my husband to be like. And so when we were in this courting period before the marriage, I had my magnifying glass out looking because I really didn't want to end up in a bad situation. I didn't want to end up in something that would derail the vision, the prosperity, the direction that God had me going in. I had achieved some things and I didn't want to get into something that was going to derail that. So I was very cautious. He was cute. Now, don't get me wrong, he was cute. But I was looking at his character because cute does not trump character. And so I was looking to see how he treated the waitress, looking to see how he treated his own family, looking to see how he spoke about his friends or how he spoke to his friends, looking to see how he just carried it in situations that had nothing to do with me. Because sometimes people can pretend, they can put on a false narrative when it comes to you, but they let down their guard when they're talking about other people or doing things for other people. One of the things that he was very good, and this was not even something that I would have thought to look for, was that he was generous. He was kind and he was generous, and I could see it. I remember a lot of times we would go to, maybe we were going into Target or going into Walmart or going into wherever we were going at the time. I remember somebody approached us asking for something. Then he was very generous to give it to them. There were times when he'd come back and tell me about a time when someone had asked him for money and instead he went and got him a meal. Those were traits that were, if he was generous with those people, there was a very good chance that he was going to be generous with me and with our children. The other thing was that I would see him one time. I remember this. You see how people are. I remember we had left out of the store and there was something underneath the cart that we had not paid for. And this man went back into that store and paid for it. Just how he went through life like that, it made me know that it was going to be okay for me to be a part of that. So that is looking at someone's character, not just chemistry. And I'm sure there are tons of stories that I could tell you about just his character and his way of walking through life. So ask yourself, does this person live out their values? How do they handle stress, disagreements, or even success? Observing these aspects can tell you a lot about how they will act in the future and as a lifelong partner. Because you want to find a partner that is able to help you partner in life. And there will be lots of situations that come up that you will need to handle. Lastly, seek godly counsel and pray for wisdom. This one is an ongoing thing. Get some counsel, ask somebody, look around. Don't just depend on yourself. So seek godly counsel and pray for wisdom. Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. Advises Proverbs 15:22. Don't walk this path alone. It's not good for man to be alone. Seek advice from those who live out their marriages in ways you admire. So, on this particular case, you want to seek wise counsel from godly married couples. You want to seek out counsel from those who are walking the walk and talking the talk. Not saying that their marriages are perfect, but they are in it to win it. And most importantly, pray, ask God for clarity and guidance in making this crucial decision. Marriage is not something that you want to take lightly, and it's definitely not something you want to jump into without consulting God first about it. This should be something that not just you are consulting, going to God with, but you and your future spouse prior to the marriage should be going to God, asking, seeking his face, making sure that this is a covenant relationship that you should enter into together as a lifelong commitment. So prior to our marriage, we did get a lot of godly counsel. At the church we were attending at the time, we were attending church together. And in order to get married at that church, you had to go through 13 weeks of premarital counseling. And I remember that some of our other couples who were interested in marriage were like, 13 weeks? What we need 13 weeks for? That's a long time. That's a long time. We needed every bit of that 13 weeks and probably some more, some extra. Yes, we did our 13 weeks of premarital counseling, and it was amazing. It was so helpful, but it was also eye opening. Eye opening because you've not been married before, you don't know what to necessarily ask or what you need to look into. I remember in this class, we had to show our credit reports to each other. We had to talk about how many kids we wanted to have. We had to talk about just all of these different situations. How would we handle our money and will we put it together or not? And all those things that can be really important discussions that you need to have prior to going into a marriage with someone. In the class, it was incorporated into all of those things. I do know that there were some couples who, after taking the class, did not get married. It was not for them. And I think that was valuable to know that on the front side saves you a lot of heartache on the backside. So, yes, we went to our premarital counseling and it was amazing. We still go back to some of the things that we learned. And in that, we not only had our leaders who we eventually even more marital retreats and stuff with, but we also had some couples in that class who were like a couple cohort. And many of us in the beginning helped each other through the early stages of our marriage. So it really provided us with, if we had questions or we had concerns, we at least had some sort of structure, a place to go to get some help so that we wouldn't have to suffer or to go through it by ourselves. So you can see how God's wisdom can guide you in choosing your life partner. It's about much more than romantic feelings or chemistry, as we say. It's about building a lasting union that glorifies God. So thank you. Thank you for joining me today. If you have found this discussion helpful, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. How are you preparing to choose your spouse wisely? What qualities do you think are most important in a lasting marriage? Let's encourage one another as we seek God's best in our relationships. Until next time, stay blessed and wise in your choices.